The truck finally stopped inside the gates of Fort Lariat. The women quickly hopped out and headed into the hangar for the in-brief. As Fawn made her way uphill, she walked past a group of women who were rotating out of the field. Their faces were slacked and grimy, with uniforms so filthy you could not read their name tapes, and their boots looked like someone had worked them over with a weed whacker. Fawn nodded to them, knowing exactly how they felt. There would be more than a few hot showers and quiet nights before they were right again. Some never would be. She grabbed a bottle of water from the corpsman station and saw her Aunt Carrie heading toward her. Fawn gritted her teeth, then popped the cap on the bottle and chugged it down to hide her uneasiness. The brigadier general had her once hot pink hair tied back into a now tea-rose bun. She motioned for Fawn to follow her into her office. Inside, Fawn deactivated the toy box's actuators, and the weapon lowered slowly to the floor. She tossed her sea bag in a corner and dropped down into a chair, only to hop back up again when she saw the steam coming out of the coffee maker. Fawn closed her eyes as she tasted the first sip, then threw in a single Irish cream and returned to her seat. "So, how you been?" Carrie said, rocking slowly in her chair. Fawn nearly snarled. "I'm going to the front. How am I supposed to be?" Fawn said, taking a swig of coffee. "I meant your little temper problem. Are you taking your pills?" Carrie said, but they both knew it had nothing to do with her temper. She just wanted those things away from her. "I'm fine. Those pills don't do anything, except make me appreciate the verticalness of the walls," Fawn said. "Are you getting better, though?" "I'm fine. Any word on Alpha?" Fawn said. "You know you'd be the first person I told," Carrie said. "I know. It's just..." Then she sighed when she saw a picture of her family on her aunt's desk. "You're supposed to miss the ones you love. Wherever he is, I'm sure he's missing us. He's strong, just like his big sister. He'll find a way to survive," Carrie said. "Yeah," Fawn said, putting down the empty cup. The brigadier general leaned back in her chair. "I wanted to ask you something," she said. "What?" "Your PRD is coming up. I can make this your last tour. Won't have to be out there in the shit anymore," Carrie said. "Sounds nice, but I'm not good at anything," Fawn said. "Bullshit. You're good at everything. You just let these pinheads piss you off too easy," Carrie said. Fawn looked down to the floor, placing her elbows on her knees. "I'm not saying you have to put up with everyone's shit, but this is the military, Fauna. It wouldn't work if we just beat up every private in JO we had a problem with. Hell, you think I don't want to knock a few skulls around?" Carrie said, leaning a bit closer, speaking a bit softer. "You think I haven't knocked a few skulls around?" Fawn chuckled. "Maybe that's where I got it from," she said. The old woman sighed. Maybe. You know, your mother was always the nice one," Carrie said. "Oh, yeah?" "Yeah. That's the only reason your parents got together. She didn't want to hurt his feelings," Carrie said. Both of them laughed. "Well, come on. We gotta be at this damn brief," Carrie said, getting up. "It's not like it's gonna start without you," Fawn said. "One of the hardest parts of being the boss, my darling, is pretending you give a shit," Carrie said. Fawn bumped and nudged her way to the purple hill she knew to be Lechway. Fletcher turned and shot Fawn a quizzing glance. Fawn shrugged and leaned against the back wall. "Attention on deck!" someone cried, snapping everyone to attention. "Easy, everyone," Carrie said, causing everyone to relax. "Let's make this a quick one, eh? I'm sure our ladies of the 209th want to wash out the war that's being waged in their scalps." The quip got a few chuckles. A hard-jawed woman began the presentation. A digital map glowed behind her. On it, the city of Lull. It was the 203rd's mission, along with their allies, the 17th Armored Division, to clear out their designated sector of the city as well as beat back any enemies they came across. Margravine Krakata was set in her ways, refusing to give any territory gain, no matter how much it cost them to defend it. Fawn looked over to the tank division across the room, thinking of how nice it would be to ride in style for once, instead of humping across the blazing, cracked highway that separated them from the front. Many of the women on the tank crews were a crass and surly bunch, but Fawn was sure she could charm one of them. The rest of the brief droned on about proper procedures for clearing buildings and engaging the enemy. Fawn understood why the army had to tell them this every time, but most of the materials were things you learned on the bus ride over to infantry school. She knew she could clear a room with her eyes closed, because she had. It was an embarrassing event that involved an ill-equipped enemy and his bastard Tabasco sauce that she had been trying to forget for years. When the brief let out, Fawn hugged her on goodbye and quickly made her way to the transport ship. The cargo bay was noisy, crowded, and already hot. A burly woman tapped Fawn on the shoulder, and she handed her gear off to be laced securely with the rest of the equipment. Fortunately, the tanks were already loaded, and she didn't have to wait long before they took off. During the ride over, sleep was impossible. Even when Fawn turned her antlers off, she was still helpless against the jarring rattle of the ship. The ship landed on an airstrip, a part of a makeshift base. The massive transport rumbled against the dirt airfield until it came to a stop. Everyone hurried out and watched the tanks pull out soon after. In the distance, Fawn could see that the rest of the armor division was about to move out. She could see the waves of heat rising off each unit. It would be a hot one. The light reflected from the bleached sand was blinding. Fawn's fire team posted on her and checked the gear they had brought, their sea bags and lockers back at Fort Lariat. "So we walking or what?" Shuttle said, her face already red from the heat. "Fuck that," Letchway said, fanning herself. Then Shuttle, "Fawn, what's up?" "Hold up," Fawn said. Rushing over to a tank crew, a rare smile was forcing its way to the front of her face. "Oh, shit," a red-headed woman said. Her name tape said Gazelle. She was a very animated woman. She had a cigarette in her hand, which never quite made it to her mouth, even after she had managed to light it. "What's up?" Fawn said, shaking hands with the woman. "Living the dream. I ain't seen you in a minute, Dearborn," Gazelle said. "Yeah," Fawn said, rubbing the back of her neck. "What they got you doing now?" "Heavy infantry." "God damn, Dearborn. You a party crasher? You must like getting shot at, huh?" Gazelle said. "Can we ride with your girls?" Fawn said. "Hell yeah. That little creepy one over there, one of yours?" Gazelle said. "Fletch? She's cool. Known her since I was a kid." "Oh. Look like her baby daddy paid child support and coupons," Gazelle said. "That's as much as she's gonna smile, though," Fawn said, waving over her fire team. Gazelle finally had almost put the cigarette to her lips. "She's smiling?" Gazelle said, raising an eyebrow. "Yeah, she's a good shooter, though," Fawn said. They tossed their packs up and climbed on board. Fawn and Letchway sat on the front tread guards, which shielded the locomotion, and Chittle and Fletch took the back two. The two women on the tank crew disappeared inside, and Gazelle's head poked out behind the machine gun turret. The woman opened a separate channel on their antlers so they could speak to each other without screaming. Then they rumbled forward, joining the caravan of tanks heading across the blasted highway. Fawn adjusted her helmet once more and securely fastened it to her antlers, then brought down her visor and signaled for everyone else to do so. These acted as polarized sunglasses, night vision, thermal, and a simple HUD, which told them where hidden friendlies were, exact ranges of targets, and alternate routes to waypoints. Fletcher's HUD was a bit more complex. It was linked to her rifle, the Penny Black. It showed projected points where a target would end up moving, automatically adjusting itself if the target changed speed or direction. This feature had been left out of a standard soldier's loadout, because without an extremely accurate weapon and exemplary marksmanship, the extra information was worthless. "Hey, Fawn, remember that girl that tried to kill herself with a spork in boot camp?" Gazelle said. Yeah, dumb fuck. What was her name? Hare? Fawn said. Gazelle rotated the machine gun turret in a complete circle. Yep. You know she's still in, right? Fawn turned back to look at the woman. You're shitting me. No, she works in supply. Her NCOs can't stand her, Gazelle said. Are we really hurting that bad now? We've been hurting that bad. It's probably worse now. They'll take anybody, even crazies and junkies, Gazelle said. Fawn nodded, knowing only Fletcher knew anything about the time she had spent under psychiatric care. It was where they had met, as girls, though Fletcher had her own problems. She had taken time to help Fawn acclimate to the horrible conditions of the facility. When Fawn had asked Fletcher, had she seen the fractals, heard their propositions, a younger Fletcher had replied, I don't see how anyone could not see them, not hear them. The city of Low was directly before them. Waves of heat ascended from the sand, swept roads, distorting the image of the steel and concrete erections jutting from the golden desert in the distance. By the time the woman had pushed more than a few miles into the ravaged metropolis, the gritty claws of this sandy void would have scraped every inch of them. All of it was inevitable. Necks and feet rubbed raw by parched collars and mummified socks. Those who had been here could not forget this grainy, chomping cleft that bled moisture from every guarded breath. The thought instantly made Fawn thirsty. She curled her lips toward the grimy straw jutting from her helmet and took a small sip, swirling the tepid, stale fluid around in her mouth before swallowing.